In order to learn how to write code, we need to study commonly used system classes. We will learn about the following classes in the order of functionality: object creation, and common methods. First, let's study the string class. To start, let's look at a practical problem and learn with that problem in mind. We are required to identify the possible methods that may be used. The problem is as follows. When collecting students' lab reports, the teacher requires students to name their reports according to the format and class seed name. For example, the lab report for the 5th experiment of student Zhong Hao in class 2011. Seed 3 would be named Sci5_RJ2011_03 Zhang Hao. Tasks. However, many students use hyphens instead of underscores. Write the class or experiment in Chinese characters, use uppercase letters, or upload unnecessary files such as code files. In the figure below, we can see an example of these incorrect report names. So, how can we correct these lab report names? To make it easier for the teacher to manage and organize them, let's start learning with this problem in mind. String first. Let's talk about the string class. The string class represents a string in Java. All strings in the Java programming language are represented as objects of this class. It is important to note that the string class is not a primitive data type. It is a class. Objects of this class are initialized with a default value of null. Just like other objects, string is a special kind of object. String values are constants and cannot be changed after they are created. The string class is marked as final, which means it cannot be inherited. Please note that it does not have any subclasses. To create a string object, there are 3 methods listed here. First, creating a new string object, with its content being the character sequence in the parameter s. Second, creating a new string object, with its content being the character sequence in the value parameter. Third, creating a new string object, with its content being a subsequence of the character array. This subsequence starts from the offset parameter and has a length specified by the count parameter. For example, in the given example, Tsunami1 represents Wang Yang, Tsunami2 represents Liu Boying, and Tsunami3 represents a subsequence starting from index 1 and having a length of 2, which gives us Boying. It is important to note that string objects have the characteristic of immutability. String is a type of constant, and its value cannot be changed once it is created. Therefore, any methods that seem to change the content of a string actually create a new string object instead. For example, the concat_string_str method creates a new string object that contains the concatenation of Tsunami and the word 同学 classmate, rather than modifying the original Tsunami1 to add new content. For Tsunami1, its content remains constant without any change. Let's also discuss the issue of string equality. There are 2 methods to compare the equality of 2 strings. One is using the equals operator, which compares the memory addresses of the 2 objects, essentially checking if 2 variables refer to the same object. False if they do, it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. The other method is using the equals method of the string class, which compares the content of 2 strings. The return value is also a Boolean type. Now, let's take a look at some commonly used methods of the string class. First one, the caret method. Index takes an index as a parameter and returns the character at the specified index. It's important to note that the index of a string starts from 0. Next one, the length method, returns the length of the string. Please distinguish this from getting the length of an array, which is accessed using the syntax enum. Length. This is an attribute, not a method. The indexOf method was covered in the previous lesson. It returns the index of the specified string within the original string. The indexOf method takes 2 parameters. The second parameter specifies the starting position from where the search should begin, and it returns the index of the first occurrence of the string. The equals ignore case method compares the content of two strings, ignoring case sensitivity. It returns a Boolean value indicating whether the two strings are equal. The replace method takes two parameters. It replaces the occurrences of the first parameter with the second parameter and returns a new string. The starts with method checks if the string starts with the specified parameter as a prefix. The ends with method checks if the string ends with the specified parameter as a suffix. The uppercase method converts all characters in the string to uppercase. The lowercase method converts all characters in the string to lowercase. Substring the substring method. If there is only one parameter, it represents the starting index to the end of the string. Substring. If there are two parameters, it represents the substring starting from the first parameter and ending before the second parameter, but the index of the second parameter is excluded. Trim 方法. The trim method removes leading and trailing spaces from the string. The split method. Here, the word split means segmentation. This method is used to split the string into an array of substrings based on a specified delimiter. The parameter supports regular expressions. The value_of method converts primitive data types to string representations. Please pay attention that static, the keyword static is added after public. It indicates a static method. The following two methods can convert integers and double types into strings. Just now, we mentioned that these are static methods, which means we need to call them using the class name, followed by a dot and the method name. For example, string value_of 100 will return the string 100. Now that we have covered the string class, let's revisit the problem we had earlier. Have you identified the methods we need to use? Tasks we need to process the lab reports, and the file extension is tasks. We can use the ends_with method to check if it is a Word file. Additionally, some lab report names are in uppercase, so we can use the lowercase method to convert them to lowercase. We also need to perform a series of replacements, such as replacing Chinese characters with letters for the class and experiment names. This concludes our study of the string class. I encourage you to practice on your own. If the index_of method fails to find the specified substring, its return value is